Welcome to iCave Answers, where I answer your Apple questions every single show. Let's get straight into it. The first question comes from Len Adams. iCave Answers, the Touch ID button on the Apple Watch would make it convenient, or would it? We've discussed this in the past. I don't think that the Apple Watch needs Touch ID at all. The only reason I think they would put it on there is potentially if it's going to be a standalone device, it doesn't attach to an iPhone anymore. They make it a completely separate thing. At which point, I'm still not sure how often it would get used. You have to unlock your Apple Watch when you put it on your wrist. So yeah, you might just touch against the side of it and that unlocks it. That's kind of convenient, but you're going to put it on maybe once a day. Is it that much of an inconvenience to type in your passcode once a day? Because let's be honest, if you've left it off for more than a day, it's probably going to ask you for a passcode anyway. Once it's on your wrist, you don't need to unlock it to use it, even for Apple Pay, because it knows that it's still attached to you, because it's got all of the sensors data. NH asks, iCave Answers, are you expecting annual updates to iPad Pros like Macs with the new chip? Hoping for a release of an iPad Pro 11-inch with an XDR display and M2 chip in 2022. And yes, I absolutely am. If the M2 chip is going to be replaced each year from an M1 to an M2 to an M3, there's absolutely no reason that they couldn't be putting these into iPad Pros, especially if there's no redesign for the iPad. Hopefully we're going to get into much better of a cadence. Apple has been so consistent with their iPhone releases year on year on year, you know it's going to be in September. Did we have a little blip with the pandemic where it was pushed back a month? Yes. However, we still knew that time of year was when we were going to be getting our iPhones, and I think Apple wants to do that with all of their product lines. I think they want people to know that in the spring you're going to get a new MacBook Air, you're going to get a new low-power Mac Mini, you're going to get a new iMac, and you're going to get new iPad Pros. And then in September you get your new iPhones, you get your new Apple Watch, you get your new iPad Mini, iPad Air, all that kind of thing, the base iPad. And then come October you get your power event where you're going to get your MacBook Pros, you're going to get your iMac Pros, you're going to get all of the big stuff. I think that's what Apple wants to be able to do in future, because then they have this regular cadence. People are expecting it, people are waiting just that last couple of months to get the new one. The buzz starts to build. That's, I think, what Apple is going to do, and I definitely think as they've been adding mini LED displays with the XDR technology to more products, I think your 11-inch iPad Pro with XDR display is going to be here in spring next year. Next up, Len Adams asks, iCave Answers, how do you feel about the next iPod Touch, the holy grail that is the MacBook SE, and the 1nm iPhone chip? Okay, we'll take them one at a time. The next iPod Touch isn't going to exist. I definitely think we've seen the last iPod Touch. Don't think there's any more coming ever again. The MacBook SE, yes, I think it's basically going to be the older chips, the M1 chips in probably the old MacBook Air body. Most likely, that seems to be the easiest option for them. And 1nm iPhone chips, we're probably going to be looking the best part of 7 years out before we get to 1nm, and at that point I would guess we're also going to be measuring it differently, because the smaller you get, the bigger the increments percentage wise get between them. If you go from 2nm to 1nm, that's a 50% reduction in size, whereas if you went from 4 to 3, it's a 25% reduction. So I feel like there's going to be different measurements by the time we get there, but it will be super efficient. Next up, Len Adams asks, iCave Answers, do you think that Apple is testing macOS on some iPhone A-series chips? I have absolutely no doubt that behind the scenes Apple has run macOS on all sorts of things, probably a toaster somewhere. They've probably run it on an Apple Watch chip just to see if it possibly can do it. I've got no doubts that Apple will be experimenting with all of this stuff behind the scenes, especially as the Apple A-series chips get faster and faster. Like an A-series chip in an iPhone, the current iPhone 13 is probably faster than the vast majority of laptops on the market. It runs iPads absolutely beautifully, and it will do for many years to come. There's absolutely no reason that it couldn't run macOS, except that Apple doesn't necessarily want it to. And Marcin Kowalczyk asks, iCave Answers, wild curiosity. What is your favourite music? Random, but suddenly got curious, so why not? I like rock, and occasionally, dependent on mood, some jazz or metal. Okay, guys, it's confessions time. I am a singer. I sing barbershop music. I sing that very old kind of 4-part harmony, close harmony stuff. So the vast majority of the time, if I'm listening to music, it tends to be stuff that I'm learning. So we split the tracks up so that we can just hear our own part and learn to sing it that way, because I'm terrible at reading music. However, the stuff that I kind of listen to more for leisure is things like Pentatonics. I just love like a cappella style music. Pentatonics, voice play, vocative. There are a few really, really good groups out there that I listen to quite a bit. Other than that, also musical stuff. So I love the soundtrack to Hamilton, and I can rap that stuff, but I sound a lot better doing something like the British guy singing "How You'll Be Back, American Traitors." I love Dear Evan Hansen. I think the music from that's amazing. Les Mis is probably my favourite musical of all time, and yeah, I'm more into kind of musical theatre stuff and a cappella than much else. Although you mentioned that you like rock, I did at one point work as a co-presenter at Kerrang Radio. So that's it for today's show. Massive bombshells at the end there. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget you can ask a question for iCave Answers by leaving your comment, #iCaveAnswers, down in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.